Number 3. Ghost Train. Out of all the Thomas and Friends episodes set around the theme of ghosts, the original story by the Reverend W. Aldrich is my all-time favourite. Not only was it well written, but it was also well adapted by the late great David Midden and his team, from the atmosphere of the effects to the ghostly music themes by Michael Donald and Junior Campbell, which has inspired other such works as the British Railway series story episode Fowler's Ghost. Now, of course, there'll be those ghastly annoying groups saying,
"What about Thomas Percy and the Dragon and Haunted Henry and all the other Thomas Halloween themed stories?"
In answer to that, here it is. I personally don't really like the supposed sequel to Ghost Train in Season 3, Thomas Percy and the Dragon, that much. But it is interesting to see another side of Thomas getting his own back on Percy, aside from the really bad. Because when a joke gets old, you know that the only thing to do is to give that character a taste of their own medicine. As for Haunted Henry, that would probably be my second favourite, because it's really interesting to see one of the main 9 engines getting spooked out for a change, aside from Gold in One Road. Not to mention that it's really well directed, just like Ghost Train, with the atmosphere of effects and the ghastly music themes by Mike and Junior. Though it would have been really interesting if Henry and the Ghost Train had been adapted for the TV series, because again it's interesting to see one of the main 9 engines getting spooked out. Stepney Gets Lost and Duncan Gets Spooked would be a third and fourth favourite, but the ones from Season 6 seem a bit like, haven't they already been through this lesson before? Whilst Bad Day at Castle Lock from Series 7 seems to take the Loch Ness Monster story, though in places it is spooky, but in other places it seems a bit too friendly. It would have been interesting if perhaps Harvey and Percy devised a plan to get back at the Scottish Twins for teasing Percy. After all, we all remember what happened in Ghost Train with Thomas. The rest, aside from perhaps Flower Power, are just like I pretty much said about going through the same lesson. Whilst the Magic Lamp has Peter San completely out of character, and pretty much everyone within the Thomas fan community has mixed Boris' story with the ghost on the old Iron Bridge plot. For more on that, check out Magic Lamp Studios' audio production, Ghosts and Magic. Number 2. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. I've always enjoyed the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror stories, but I'm going to list just 3 of my all-time favourites. Number 1. Treehouse of Horror. The first story involves the haunted house theme, in which the house that the family move into is actually a living being which tries almost everything to make the family leave, even going as far as having 4 of the family members, Homer, Bart, Lisa and Maggie, trying to kill each other. Though what was wrong with the house that they were actually living in? Unless Flanders was the reason they moved out for one episode. The second story involves the alien abduction theme, in which Kang and Coles are first introduced, where there's an ongoing debate, mainly from Lisa and the ship's cook, as to whether the aliens were going to eat the family or take them to paradise. The third and final story is The Simpsons adaptation of the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe and narrated by James Earl Jones, in which Bart portrays the Raven, Homer is the main character, and Marge is the lost Lenore, with Lisa and Maggie as the angels. Number 2. Treehouse of Horror 6. The 6th Treehouse of Horror episode involves the attack of 50-foot giants theme in the first story, this being metal mascots of particular venues coming to life, all because Homer wanted a gigantic donut. But the cure to stopping the rampage is a song called Just Don't Look. The second story is a parody of Nightmare on Elm Street, to which groundskeeper Willie extracts his revenge on the residents of Springfield's children by attacking them in their dreams after being burned on the 13th day of the 13th month. The third story of the episode is one of my all-time favourites, in which Homer goes 3D! And at the end of the episode transports to the real world. But I like it for the concept of different dimensions, to which was attempted in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull with the idea of interdimensional beings that look like aliens. Now we all know that this 3D method of The Simpsons is also used in Simpsons video games, such as Simpsons Road Rage and Simpsons Hit and Run. Number 3. Treehouse of Horror 10. This Treehouse of Horror episode is one I've liked for several reasons. Aside from the fact that it's the 10th Halloween special, it features two of my other favourite episodes. One being a comic book guy portraying a villain known as the Collector, with Bart and Lisa as the heroic duo known as Stretch Dude and Clobber Girl, and guest starring Lucy Lawless dressed as her well-known portrayal of Xena in Xena Warrior Princess, which was the spin-off series of Hercules The Legendary Journeys, which starred Kevin Sorbo as Hercules. The other is the apocalyptic story in which the world comes to an end and everyone has to leave planet Earth for safety, which at the time was based on the whole Y2K theory going into the new, now current, millennium. Although I like a fair few other Treehouse of Horror episodes, these three would have to be my all-time favourites, but still worth watching again and again on Halloween. And my number one most ghastly, horrifying, creepiest, most scary Halloween special of all time is Power Rangers Zeo. It came from Angel Grove. Out of all the Halloween episodes featured in Power Rangers, this one ranks up as my favourite. It takes various classic horror stories from Dracula, Werewolf, Dr. Frankenstein and the Wicked Witch and merges them into one. Each of the Rangers, with the exception of Adam who travels through each of the stories alone, portrays each of these characters. Tommy is Count Dracula, Rocky is the Werewolf, Billy is Dr. Frankenstein with Alpha as his assistant, though in this episode Frankenstein is known as Hackensack. Tanya is Frankenstein's wife, or rather mummy, and Catherine is the Wicked Witch. Though before turning into the Wicked Witch, she was simply a cat. Only instead of being a white cat like how she debuted, she was a black cat, as what you often see when it comes to Wicked Witches. So after going through all the stories, Adam encounters Zordon at the Power Chamber, or rather he's known as Zordonicus. But in order to save his friends from the Machine Empire, Adam is forced to let one of his friends to fight the Drill Master monster, to which he accidentally elects Tommy. As Zeo Ranger 5, Tommy eventually defeats Drill Master, but before his friends can be set free, Zordonicus is revealed to be none other than King Mondo. But as King Mondo unleashes a swarm of cogs and monsters onto a powerless Adam, Adam eventually wakes up back at the school the following morning having realised it was all but a horrific nightmare. What I like about this episode is that it's one of those stories where you really believe it's actually happening, kind of like The Chemical Wedding, and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode For Whom the Bell Tolls, where one of Trini's dolls, Mr. Tickle Sneezer, is stolen by one of Rita's henchmen, that being Squat, and is set loose against the Rangers. But of course it also turns out to be a dream, as of course in It Came from Angel Grove. But unlike For Whom the Bell Tolls, It Came from Angel Grove takes a real drastic turn between fiction and the Power Rangers universe, and it works really well. As a kid it did pretty much scare me, but for some reason I always loved watching it. Plus it's one of the few Power Rangers episodes set entirely at night. But overall it's one of those episodes to watch again and again at Halloween. So there you have it, my top 5 favourite Halloween specials of all time. I hope you all have a very horrific trick or treat and don't let the bed bugs bite or the boogeyman get you when you eat too much candy.